Welcome, dear listeners. You are listening to the DigiCompetence podcast with Anne Quark and Philip Ramin.
Yes, and today we're speaking to Dr. Caroline Faraj, CNN VP and CNN Arabic Editor-in-Chief. Caroline is an award-winning journalist with over 30 years of experience. She was named Arab Woman of the Year in Media for 2022 and won the Arab Women Awards in 2021. Born in Amman, Jordan, she holds a BA in journalism and mass communications from Yamuk University, an MA in international journalism, and an honorary doctorate from the City University of London, which she was awarded in recognition of her outstanding leadership and her commitment to supporting opportunities for women and young people in the Arab world. She was also awarded the Distinguished Jordanian Medal by King Abdullah II. Caroline's career includes roles as a senior political reporter for Al Rai, managing editor for Jordan Times, regional correspondent for US Defense News. She also hosted Jordan's first live morning television talk show called Yom Yadid. Based in Dubai, Caroline joined CNN in 2001 and launched CNN Arabic in 2002, managing it through significant regional events such as the US-led invasion of Iraq, the Arab Spring, and the rise of ISIS. In 2014, she led a comprehensive relaunch of the site. Caroline also serves on several advisory boards, including City University of London, Syed University in Dubai, and the American University of Sharjah. She's also a board member of the Magdi Yaqub Global Heart Foundation. She's an advocate for female enablement and advancement through mentoring people at CNN and across the industry, being an ambassador at Reset. In celebration of International Women's Day 2022, Caroline was featured in Facebook's She Creates ebook. She's judged the International Emmy Awards and the Holt Prize, also known as the Nobel Prize for Students, by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus. Caroline was born the eldest daughter of the eldest son of the tribe leader, her grandfather, who played a big role in how she views life and her work. An astonishing fact, it took Caroline just 16 days to launch CNN in Dubai. And for a fun fact, on a children's television show with puppets and singing, Caroline played a beautiful bird. A not so well kept secret, though, is that Caroline has an aversion to the words impossible and problem. And to emphasize this, she's made out of the word impossible, I am possible. Welcome today to our podcast, Caroline.
Wow. Thank you very much. You've done lots of homework. I should always carry whatever you've introduced me to and give it to the people whenever they introduce me. It's the best introduction. Thank you very, very much. You brought me up all the way until I am standing now and sitting in front of you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
A pleasure, Caroline, and it's a pleasure for us to have you with us today. But I have to ask you, because it's very, very interesting for us, what was it like growing up as the eldest daughter of the eldest son of the tribe leader? And what role did your grandfather play in what you do today?
Well, you started with a very, very close topic to my heart. My grandfather and my father, whom unfortunately they're not with us right now. I was raised, as you said, as the number one kid. And when I was a kid, I used to be the only one who was allowed to get inside when my grandfather is hosting other heads of tribes. So they sit together and they talk with each other. I was approximately 2.5 years old, I think. When I used to ask questions when I was a kid, like, Uncle, why your mustache is like this? Or Uncle, why you're putting the gun here? Uncle, why you're wearing a dress? Because, they wear traditional dresses. And they usually look at me and smile. And I look at my grandfather like, what's going on? I need an answer. Then my grandfather used to look at them and tell them, she asked you a question and she's not going to leave you until you answer. And that's very true. So I used to get an answer until I'm satisfied with this. And that actually, nowadays, when I'm talking about storytelling in my life, I am always remembering this because that was an important milestone, if you like, in my childhood that brought me to where I am right now. So that was the beginning of me asking questions. But I will take you now to my other side of the family, which is Egypt, because my dad is Jordanian, my mom is Egyptian. So I used to go as well to Egypt with my mom every summer. And my grandfather was always telling me, whenever I ask him any question, he used to tell me, let me tell you a story. And then he tells me a story. And after the story is done, he said, what did we understand from the story? And seriously now, I think these two grandparents, God bless their souls, played a vital role in planting the seed of storytelling, if you like, in my character, in my life, in my career, that became actually everything me. Caroline is like, I'm connected with the storytelling since I was a kid. So that was the beginning of being raised by two grandparents, and two of them are from different culture, but both of them were indirectly planting the seed of storytelling.
Caroline, you were also the first woman who graduated in journalism at the university that you were at, the first woman ever. What gave you the courage to walk in and say, here I am, I'm female, and I'm going to do this?
Well, another interesting incident, but it went actually with a link with my grandfather, if I may tell you briefly what the story about it. You know, as you know that I'm the number one kid, my family runs a family business, and it was indirectly understood by my grandfather that I will be taking over the family business and running it. But in reality, I decided to, when they announced that there's a new department in college teaching journalism, I was very much like really interested in it. Although my degree, my grades were actually giving me the right to go to any other college, not the scientific one because I wasn't into science. But I was able to be accepted, and so I applied automatically. I was accepted. They only need my paper, so I went to the university with my dad and mom. Everybody was celebrating. The number one kid is now joining the university, you know, and the family prepared special meals. So I went and I was going straight, and then my dad was like heading straight towards the business and administration or business. And I told my dad, but now we need to go left. So he looked left and he said, that's journalism. And I said, yeah, because I applied for the journalism. He said, are you serious? What do we do with journalism? No, you're running the family business, right? I said, no, I am not running the family business. My brother can do that if he wants, but I am going straight to journalism. And then he looked at me and he said, journalism, your salary by the end of the month is not going to cover even the jeans you're wearing. I said, that's my problem, totally my problem. He wasn't happy. And I registered, as you said. So I was the first Jordanian to register in this department as a female, and I was the first to graduate because I was raised also in an English school. So everything was in English. So it was easier for me to study. And unfortunately, and that is something that I always advise young people not to follow my steps. I finished in 3 years. So I was able to graduate also, the first woman to graduate as well from that college. And since then, I've been rolling, and still I am.
You always are rolling, Caroline, and courage seems to play a very, very large role in what you've done. We spoke at the beginning about you having reported about things like the US-led invasion of Iraq and Arab Spring. What has this reporting done for you and your own resilience?
Well, the first, the coverage of the invasion was actually my second time covering the war in Iraq. I covered it first when I was still in Jordan, and then the second one I was taking the lead because I was leading the team here, working with them. It was not an easy thing because if you recall, it was also very much linked after that also with the Al-Qaeda and the beheading and the killing and the bloodshed and all that stuff. This was a challenging time, but it's not a courage. It's I'm very much focused. I focus, and I prepare myself. I do my homework well, as much as I can, and I focus, and I do it until I am not able to see my goal. So I put my goal in front of my face. So it's not a carriage, it's more of a preparation and clarity of the goal, and keep focusing on the goal. So this was a tough period. You know, you brought really lots of memories. This was tough because I was the first, you know, I was as the person who was from CNN who's supposedly checking all the authenticity of the claim of responsibilities, the killing, the beheading, and all that stuff. And if you recall, it used to be lots of audios and statements. So text-wise, it's fine. Or audio, you can sometimes, okay, if somebody is reading a speech, to check the authenticity, where is it coming from, and then give the green light to CNN to use it or not to use it. And of course, I used to report it also on TV directly. But when it comes to beheading and it's audio, then you're hearing lots of horrible things. You're hearing also screaming. You're hearing the actual beheading is unbelievable. But imagine that you are live on TV and you're reporting about something that is related to maybe the son or the daughter or somebody who's listening as well. So you have to be really very much in control of your face expressions as much as I can. That wasn't easy at all. I was still listening to the statements while I was already doing the lives, and I have to control myself as much as I can because it was horrible things that you're listening to. But you also need to continue working. You know, it's, of course, I have to say that CNN was so gracious with me that they told me, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. And I did the same thing also with my team. None of my team members were able to do it because it's really tough. And I definitely took it with pleasure to not to let them join this period of horrible checking, unfortunately. But I was able to do it for more than a year, and then it became easier for people to do, and also the number of beheading and killing became less and less, but the authenticity became like we trained ourselves, we trained others as well to check the authenticity of the audio, regular audio of speeches or the statements and so on. And it went well, but it wasn't an easy thing. But thank God, I don't know how, don't ask me how, because I don't have the answer, that I don't know, I was like finishing it, go, and then I go as if like there was nothing. I started to act like a robot in a way, because my brain says that this is work, I'm finishing it, I have to do it right, I have to be careful about the people who are watching me and the families. I don't want to also bring horror to their hearts until it is done, and then I can go breathe. I used to go and swim and go exercise and go to the gym just to basically relax. And as I said, CNN offered me many times not to do it, or even if I need any mental health support or whatever. It wasn't an easy, but somebody needs to do the job.
Caroline, that's quite impressive what you are describing, and I guess such a behavior requires a lot of resilience towards all of these, you know, situations, etc. Is it possible to train yourself on resilience, or is it important in journalism to have a high level of resilience as a skill or as a mindset, so to say?
I don't think that you can train anybody. You have to have it from within. You know, as I said, probably, you know, because when I was a kid, I used to go many places with my grandfather, with my dad. I used to ask questions. I used to like to do some adventures. But that was like a small pillar, if you like, within me. And then you need to build it. And of course, if you're looking at your career, if you're looking at the brand that you're serving, so you have to train yourself gradually. But my advice to anybody who would like to do that and try it is, don't push yourself. There's always a limit, and you are the only one who would understand your limit. So you don't wait for your boss or your manager or your company or even your doctor to tell you to stop it. You need to stop it when you feel that it is taking a lot of effort from you and you cannot do it more than that. So don't push the envelope too much. That's not a scoop. That is something that is dealing from within to out. It's not from out to in. So you really need to handle it in a very sensitive way, and you have to have the ability to listen to yourself well and give yourself the time to listen to it.
Caroline, while we were researching you, Philip and I would have said we found that you were married to the truth. And to put marriage to the truth in the center of things. If you're married to the truth, there's a certain amount of courage if you think about the situation of reporting truthfully, no matter what anyone else thinks of you. How do you deal with that? And as a real trailblazer, that's something that is very important for people who want to innovate, following that kind of line of thought. It would be interesting to see your insights.
Well, as you said it, you know, the minute you commit that you would like to, you have to be, and you want to be a journalist, then you really need to know what are the main pillars for a good journalist. You know, credibility is number one, and truth, of course, it takes, you know, you cannot be a journalist if you're not truthful. So you can be a writer or I don't know what, but you can call, you know, this person can call him or herself anything, but truth comes as a package with journalism and credibility. It's something that you need to focus on and be clear about. And I think also the audience would expect the same thing from you. It's not only the brand, you know, it's the brand in a way strengthen the ground that you're standing on, but you have to have it from within as well. So when I decided to do that, I know that I will never compromise no matter what. And I am willing to you know, many incidents happened that people were asking me, for example, for either changing the topic or removing it from the site or from the newspaper, or even tell them who's my source, which is something that we all know as journalists, it's a no. So my answer was always like, if I am forced to do it, then I will do that and leave the whole career, because I would lose my respect to myself. It is something, I'm not doing it because only the job wants it or the boss asked me to do it. It is something that I believe in it, and that's why I took that line, and I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it for more than 30 years, and as long as I have you know, I have the ability to breathe and walk and function, I will keep doing that. So truth, there is no compromise when it comes to this.
You have just mentioned your 30 years of experience in the field of journalism. If you look back, what were the big changing points in journalism? To what extent can we compare today's journalism with a journalism like 10, 20, 30 years ago? Is it still the same? Is journalism actually the right way to describe the job, or is it maybe just something completely different today?
Before I start answering your question, we have to agree. I am 25 and holding, and I will never grow up. I will always stay 25.
Agree.
So I started working even before I was born. Well, I really like your question. I'm a very optimistic person, and I always believe, and that's something, it's not I'm using it in my speeches, I also believe it, that the best is yet to come. We started with solid journalism, but lots of censorship in the rest of the world. You might be enjoying, you know, you might remember that you enjoyed since you were a kid openness in Germany, for example, but that was not the case in the region where I live. So there was lots of censorship, no satellites, no internet, nobody allowed to say anything. You get your story only from the government and so on. So there was lots of control. And it needs to be approved by even the censorship of who's basically represented by the government. Nowadays, you don't have this. Now you have lots of openness. It's a global village that we're living in. Everybody, you know, most of the countries in the neighborhood where I am based here in Dubai, when I started the CNN Arabic 23 years ago, some countries did not have satellites, did not have internet. They were not allowed to, but we were still receiving viewership and readership from these countries, because the young people are smart how to really go around and access whatever they want technology-wise. So the young people are bringing lots of hope to me. And as you know, that 70% of the population in the Arab world are under the age of 30.
Yeah.
In Saudi, it's under 70% under the age of 25.
Wow.
So that is what? That is hope. That is bright future. But of course, they need people like us to put them on the right track and let them go, and maybe fall sometimes and stand up and so on. So the situation is much better. I am a person who also believes in the opportunities. Like if there's an opportunity technology-wise to have social media, why not? Why do I need to block it? In the AI, avatar, whatever new technologies are happening now, why not give it a shot? You will always find some good people using it in the right way, and you will find some bad people using it in the wrong way. That's life in everything, not only in technology and not only in media. But give it a shot and try it. Like, I'll give you, for example, now we used to take lots of time in order to read the text and prepare it and then edit and so on. Now, we are witnessing now a revolution. We're not using it as CNN yet, which is using AI in editing or AI in verifying some stuff or translation. We're testing these issues because so far we're finding 95% perfect, but we still have 5%. So the 3 letters that you see them behind me are important to protect the 5%. So until the 5% are closed and we have 100%, you will start seeing CNN using it. But we are trying it, we're anxious to do it, we have many entities who are trying it. And now, for example, finally, look at Gaza, what's happening? Who's covering Gaza? We're not on the ground. None of the international media are allowed to be on the ground, and it's a battle between us and also the authorities. However, the social media is covering it. So you're able to see what's going on the ground from both sides through the social media. So that is something that is better than before. Yes, there's ups and downs in it. It needs lots of effort from all of us to verify and check if this is truthful or not. And sometimes they're smarter than us. But let's give them a chance and let them grow. And we will definitely find opportunities for young people to find it, and it will show and reflect their capabilities and ability to grow.
Caroline, I love what you're saying, because I'm a huge optimistic person, and for me at the moment, actually, I struggle a lot, because at the moment, in large parts of the society, also in Germany, there's a lot of negative energy and pessimistic energy, and people are blaming each other, etc. And I think it's wrong, but I also don't have the right recipe how to change it. And I guess it's quite difficult for someone in journalism also being in charge of reporting all the negative aspects which are part of our reality to remain positive. So how do you do it on your own? I mean, you have such a positive energy, and I enjoy speaking with you because I can feel that positive energy. But how can we scale it up? How can we make people believing in a bright future, in open doors instead of closed doors?
Listen, I look at our responsibility, all of us collectively, as a beautiful painting or mosaic. It's something that each one of us has a small part to do and to build on it. And sometimes you see a beautiful painting, but it has like a spot in the middle, or there's a default in the middle or something. You see that there's something wrong with the painting. So that's why even a small portion of what you can do, or I can do, all of us can do, it will make the picture better. And you know, I know that some people, they say, well, I cannot make the change. But I don't agree with these people when they say that, because if you don't do your portion of change and positivity that you can add, then the rest of the world will keep saying nothing will happen, and we will never go further another step. Each one of us is able to put something to push themselves one step. And when I am standing behind somebody else and they find me that I became too close to them, it will help them, or force them in a way, to move another step, and that would be for the better for everybody. So collectively, we can do something if we do our part. That's one. The second thing is that it is not only in journalism. I know that journalism is full of unfortunate, sad news and bad news all the time. And I can see in front of me, if you come to my office, I have many screens in front of me, and none of them is bringing any smile. Even the presenters are not smiling. But I can tell you how you can basically feel positive. By working with young team like my team, I have young team that brings me really joy, and I feel happy to come to the office every day, and I really miss them. And it takes two to tango. So I can be the best manager, but if I don't have amazing team, I will worth nothing. The second thing is the young people, as I told you. I really put like as we say, I put all my knowledge, not my money. I put all my knowledge and all my promises, and I bet on this young generation. Because if these people are happy and they know that they have a role to submit to the world, then things will be better. Now, we're not going to be reaching quickly to the end of the race, but at least we will walk steadily. And that's why I am focusing the last few years on training and workshops and supporting the young people to tell their stories, because everyone has a story to tell.
Oh, yeah.
If I hear the young people telling their stories to each other, they can inspire each other. They don't want me as Caroline to inspire them. They need to inspire from each other, and the inspiration comes from each other. It's something that I personally believe in, and I've been doing it for the last few years, and I can see the fruits. And I'm so optimistic. And as I said, that's the source of my hope and optimism as well. Of course, in addition to that, I'm a big believer. So a big believer in the young people, but I'm also a big believer to my faith as well.
Caroline, when we hear you speaking, you've got a day that sounds like it's 72 hours long. And there are lots of people listening to our...
I wish. Can you please do some homework and help me who can do it for me?
We'll come back to you on
we'll
our
come back,
solution
yeah,
on
with a
that one.
proposal.
We will come back to you. But there are many people that say they've got in their job so much to do, there's no time to learn. How do you approach learning with such a busy day that is actually controlled by the outside? News comes from the outside.
Okay, let's agree first that I don't consider it a job. It's a passion. The minute I consider it a job, it's okay, 5 o'clock, it's time for me to go and go. I cannot. I don't, it's not a job, it's a passion. 2, journalism doesn't have a specific time. So I preach on my team. I tell them, no, you finish your shift, you have to leave. And they say, no, I want to finish this. I keep encouraging them not to follow my steps. I always tell them, listen, guys, don't follow my steps. I did many mistakes, but I'm still okay. But I don't want you to go there. I want you to have a life. And that is true, by the way. I didn't recognize life, but pretty late. But we'll come to that later. But for me, I feel that if you feel that this is a job, then you will only do the small portion that expected. But you need to impress yourself before you impress your manager. So that is something that I don't do it to impress my manager. I do it because I want to do it. And it's sometimes I hear it as well from my manager saying, you don't need to do it. I said, well, I don't need to do it. I want to do it. So there's a difference between I have to or I want to. So that's the way I run my day, if you like. And I do have lots of energy, yes, because as I said, I'm a happy person. And I get my energy and inspiration and the brightness of my day from my team.
Caroline, talking about learning and education, and our team and also personally myself, we believe a lot in qualification, education as the main factor for transformation in our society, in our global community. But on the other hand, we still see that this education topic is seen as a maybe second or third priority topic compared to the big political and economic topics. So what can we do to convince more people that at the end, if we are educated well, if we have access to knowledge, it will be good for all of us? What can we do to put this topic really on the top list of the agenda?
Well, it's not only in your region, it's everywhere. I think it's the packaging. I think we really need to, the message needs to be repackaged in a way that because sometimes education gives them the impression that it is like the old professors, that they are always killing themselves with reading, with solid and heavy glasses. And so that's not education. Education now is fun. You can be educated while you're listening to something. Thanks to the technology that now you can be educated. My husband is German and he's learning Arabic by listening to some apps to learn Arabic, while I don't have, unfortunately, time to learn German, but hopefully when I retire, I will. But imagine that instead of going to school and attending classes and doing homeworks and all that stuff, now you're listening while you're at the gym or you're taking a drive or whatever. So see how simple it is. And also, I think in the old days, you have to finish 3-4 years and then graduate and so on. Nowadays, they need to take their pace sometimes. I love the idea of somebody who just graduated high school. They're not sure what to study, but they feel that they want to do something that they feel happy about. So sometimes they take like 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and go and do some voluntary work and then NGO and CSR activities and so stuff. That brings them, in a way, confidence to their character, and then it will give them clarity, because sometimes you really need the space to think what should be next. So I think the packaging of the importance of education, also the offering of the education, the terminologies that we're using, the way we do it, we need to make education fun.
Yes.
We need to make education smooth and also not rigid. So it's important, and that's why you see like many people are now interested in taking short courses instead of going to the university. But you know, at the end of the day, you want them to be educated, and education, it doesn't only come from university or school. It starts from home, as you know. You need to be educated how to deal with people, with human beings, to trust people, to be polite and to be truthful. All of this, it's also teaching. But it is teaching for making your building your character, and then you go to the university or school, whatever. In my case, I wanted to study, and I studied my undergrads immediately after graduating from high school, and then I got my master's 16 years after I finished my while I was still working. So I decided to do my master's because I felt master's was actually a decision that I took because I wanted to have some space from the situation I was living in, and especially after the death of late King Hussein of Jordan. He was like a father figure to me. So when he died, I decided I want to go out, and then there was an opportunity to study, and I got a scholarship. So I went to the UK to get my master's and to study, and that was for me a 1-year sabbatical for me from work. But I was getting my master's, but at the same time I was staying with Caroline. So that was a time for me. So I think we really need to reintroduce the matter. We need to find people who understand this message properly in the media to deliver it. Because when you talk to people, you can talk to 110, 1,000. But if you want to talk to the masses, you need to deal with the media. But also the media people should be also in the same length and the same waves with you to be able to deliver the message properly. It's not any journalist can do it. You need people who also believe in the same belief that you do towards education. And as I said, we really need to reconsider. And as you mentioned at the beginning of the introduction, I sit on different advisory boards, and I'm the person who's always raising the flag of, we need to do a new approach, guys. We have to reintroduce it. And we really need to reconsider sometimes what we're offering to the students. We cannot keep offering them just journalism, radio and television, blah, 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 which is something that was like 30 years ago when or more when I was studying. Now there's AI, there's technology, there's social media. You really need to keep advancing and updating and upgrading your offering at the universities to whatever is needed in the market. You cannot just do it because it's the reputation of this university that they're good in journalism. No, you need to adapt to the needs, and also you need to know what is needed in the market and bring this to the attention of the students, because they don't want to get the degree and sit at home. They need work.
Caroline, and actually, maybe just one last comment on that. Sorry, Anne. I mean, the interesting thing about what you're saying is, in fact, it's part of the DNA of people to progress, to go one step further. We just, need to enable them. We let them do their job. But sometimes, the circumstances, the structures, the hierarchies are blocking them so much so that they are not able to progress and to develop themselves. So 100%. I think we don't need to change people. They have it in their DNA. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like when they talk about the muscles, they say the muscles don't go, it sleeps. This is exactly the same. And I have to underline that you both use the term enabling. I love it, because one of the issues that I have sometimes in events or activities that I'm attending, when they talk about what I'm doing, they say empowering women and youth. That's not right. They are already full of power.
Exactly.
They're not powerless. They have lots of power. But you only need to enable them through training, teaching, and so on. So thank you very much for using the right terminology.
Caroline, you were talking about a lot of the different things that we need to do about education, but what about teaching people self-value, teaching people to be centered around themselves in a healthy way? that if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I touched upon this briefly. This is something comes from home. You know, and you see that by example. So if I see a member of my family who is not truthful, or he's a thief or whatever, God forbid, then I will follow their steps. So you need to lead by example at home. You need to learn these things at home, and also you need to open the door for discussion at home to be able to understand the value of what you're teaching. You cannot just take it because I said so. It doesn't work like that. I wasn't raised like that. When my dad used to tell me, I want to go somewhere, he says, no. I say, why not? I said, because I said so. My grandfather used to tell him, there's nothing called I said so to this generation. And that was at that time. You need to tell her why and convince her. If you don't convince her, she has the right to do it and take the full responsibility of her action. That was my grandfather's theory. Imagine the generation, like my grandfather, older than my dad, but he was more open. And it's so funny that my aunts were not raised like this. He didn't raise the daughters the same way that he raised me as my grandfather, but he understands the generation is changing. And he used to tell her, that's a different generation from your sisters. You have to do something different with her. So it's how you raise your kids. You have to start from home. And for those who don't have home, they have also school. And there's always a person that you click with. Sometimes your mom, sometimes your dad, sometimes your grandfather, sometimes your teacher. There's always somebody that you can click to. And that is the person that you hold hand and takes you to the second step. And I am a person that in front of you that I was so blessed and lucky to find people to teach me something in every step of my life. And I'm still learning from these people.
What a wonderful thing to say.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody to click with could also be your boss, couldn't it?
It can be, absolutely. It can be anything.
We should be speaking to your team, I have the feeling here.
Absolutely, you're welcome anytime. Come, and you will fall in love with them immediately. I'm blessed having them.
Caroline, you've done some very big scoops over the years. What makes a good story?
A good story is something that is not only you're happy to see your name, but you are happy that you were able to help others. And I always tell my team, the scoop is not always, first of all, a story is a story that you're proud of doing when you choose it. If you want to put your byline on it, would you put your byline on it? That's one. Then if it's going to upgrade this story into a scoop, then this scoop needs to be helpful to others. It's not only scoop because it is something you were able to do it and that's it. Who's benefiting from it? So who's getting now different attention or care from whoever that you scooped it. So scoop is and also I am a big believer. If you don't have a circle of supporters, and trust, you cannot get the scoop. In my life, I started with politics and peace process between the Arabs and the Israelis and so on, and then Al-Qaeda and so on. So now I'm more of a strategic thinker and advisor to my team, but the team is running the show, and I'm focusing on the training as well as supporting my team every now and then, and the network as well. But it all starts with what you build trust. When somebody trusting you to give you documents or scoop, as we call it, or anything, they need to trust you. And you need to prove to them that they trust you. Trust doesn't come while I'm having coffee with you. Trust comes with time, and you have to be patient and clear and be aware that the person who is trying to build the image of trust with you will be able to see you from inside. So don't act, because acting will be so clear to these people, because these people, they're acting with their own feelings and brain and everything within them to trust you to give you something. So therefore, be transparent, be truthful, don't act, and be patient.
When we come back briefly to journalism, what is your prediction for the next decade? What will happen?
It will be more open, some chaos in some places because they will put restrictions in some countries, some regions. They will consider that this is too much opening. We're not gonna let it happen. But truth and youth are all going to win the battle. They're gonna win the battle, and they will able to do it. And as I said, you'll find some bad people, some good people. You will find some control and censorship from some parts, and some people will believe in this and open it. But as long as you're on the right track, don't look back. And I think that it's going to be, the technology will open doors. The technology will open doors as well, and platforms for people that they don't have voices. Now, on social media, many people used to be frustrated or feeling bad, or they don't have a voice. Now, on social media, they have a voice. On digital media, they have a voice. In the old days, you have to wait for the newspaper to get it next day, or a magazine, or listen to the radio that most of the time in our part of the world controlled by the government. And people don't go to them, especially if you have a story to tell. But now you can tell your story wherever you are. Now you're in Germany, I'm in Dubai, we're talking to each other. Others will be listening to us from all over the world. So it's a global village. So the lack of control or lack of ability of those regimes and people who would like to control these things will not be able to do that, because the brain of the young people and the technology, together with the technology, can do miracles.
Wow, what a very strong message. Wow, impressive.
I believe in it. That's why it's strong.
Yeah.
Caroline, I have to ask you the question. You say everyone has a voice, and there are lots of people that would love to have a voice on the television or in an article. What do they all do wrong by not getting heard?
By stopping to try. Some people, they try once and they fail, or they're not successful, then they give up. No, don't give up. Be patient, don't give up, and keep trying. One day you will find your platform, if you like, or your microphone. It's always like that. But it also, I believe also, it's from the other side, like us as networks and organizations or philanthropists, they should really think about thinking together how we can offer a platform and train people to tell their stories. And that is something that I'm very proud to say that we did it last year and the year before by partnering with a philanthropists in the UAE, and we tailored a program to go to women in the refugee camps. And these young ladies received scholarships and training and universities and stuff, opportunities in the refugee camps, which is very rare to happen. But we want them not to take this opportunity and only tell their parents and their cousins. They need to bring hope as well to others. But how can they do that? So we partnered with this organization. We went to these refugee camps and talked to 35 young refugees who are educated, and they were able to get the scholarship and join, and now they are educated, or they're almost graduating. So what we did, we trained them how to tell their stories. We gave them a storytelling training, and we used a 360 approach. We trained them how to do storytelling. Then we coached them until they were able to produce their own stories. And after that, we took their approval and we published it on CNN Arabic and social media, so that they can also inspire others. And as I told you at the beginning, Philip, that it's important that the young people to inspire each other.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell her story, but I will miss something. That's why I'm a big believer, and this is what I always train people. You are the best person to tell your own story. So that's something that, we offered them a voice, a platform. Their voice was heard by others, and it encouraged others. And we heard from many philanthropists. They told us that they started to, many people are saying, I don't want a job, I want to educate my daughter.
Right.
And don't forget, in refugee camps, there's another element to this approach. It's not only educating the daughter, but also encouraging other fathers and parents to also give the chance to their daughters to study. So that was very important. So yeah, so this is the way I don't preach about something that I haven't tried most of the time, but I am a believer that try it and learn from your mistakes, and then share it with others. Don't keep it to yourself and lock it in your drawer.
That should be the way to go for everything, actually. Yeah. Caroline, it's fantastic talking with you, and I feel we need 1 or 2 or 3 more episodes, you know, to come here to a good end, because there is no real end. But we are coming, at least for this episode, to our final 2 questions, which we are asking to all of our fantastic guests. And I have the pleasure to start with the first one. And I actually want to know, what are maybe the 3 priorities for yourself you see in the next months, maybe even in the next years for yourself? What seems to be extremely important for you? And you can choose on your own. Is it something related to your career or to your personal development, to your family, whatsoever? So what are the priorities?
Well, I need first to finalize for the coming month. That's my agenda. I'm finalizing 3 projects actually that I'm doing the last touches, if you like. And I have also to remember that I have to have my own life as well. If I don't relax and spend it with my loved ones, then there's something wrong. I'm not a robot, I'm a human being. So I'm going to spend some time as well with my husband and my family. And then I will be getting my energy, coming back to start building a new project that is going to be announced very soon.
Oh, exciting.
Wow, very exciting, Caroline. I've got the honor of asking the last question. If you had the opportunity to recommend to people 3 things that they should be learning to keep fit for the future, which 3 things would you choose?
First of all, learn how to listen. Because that is something that I don't think that people are trained to do that. And that is one of the things that we do, which is debate in this part of the world. God made it, there was a reason why he gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we need to listen carefully. So that's 1. Listen, respect your time. And 3, always look straight for another challenge. You need to keep challenging yourself. And that is something that can keep you growing and keep you moving. These are my 3 tips for all the beloved ones surrounding me, are the young people.
Full stop, nothing to add.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Caroline. It was fantastic talking with you. You have inspired and enabled us a lot. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I hope next time I talk to you in German.
We're certainly hoping that you'll have plenty of time until you go from 25 to going into being a pensioner. But thank you too, Caroline. That was our conversation today with the lady who's not a robot, but a human being who's betting on the next generation and who says, just try it and keep going and don't give up. That was our conversation with Dr. Caroline Faraj, CNN VP and CNN Arabic Editor-in-Chief. And if you'd like to send us a suggestion for somebody who is absolutely fascinating like Caroline was today, then please send us an email at podcast@i40.de. And if you want to follow what's happening in our podcast, then follow the hashtag DigiCompetence Podcast. And for those of you that have heard us before, you know Philip and I will be doing somersaults if you come back to listen to us when it's time to be digitally competent with Philip Ramin and Anne Kowak.